1,000 years apart, Rome vanished in 3 days, and the Soviet Union dissolved in just 900 days. Both empires collapsed, not by enemy armies, but by hollowed-out currencies, street riots, and a sudden collapse of confidence. Today, the world's largest superpower faces the same meltdown pattern. The final warning signs are already visible. What triggers instant collapse, and how close is America to the edge? A single Roman coin, once bright and heavy in the hand, told the story of an empire in retreat. By the 5th century, coins that had started as nearly pure silver were now little more than copper tokens, washed with a thin sheen to mimic lost luster. Numismatists today, examining these relics, find traces of silver as low as 1 or 2%, a far cry from the 90% purity that defined Rome's strength. Each new wave of debasement was not just a technical matter. As the coins grew lighter and duller, trust in the currency evaporated. Merchants demanded more coins for the same loaf of bread. Soldiers, paid in near-worthless money, turned restless. Graffiti from Rome's port at Ostia records bread prices tripling within a generation. Chroniclers describe mobs storming grain warehouses, blaming speculators and corrupt officials. The city's food supply, once guaranteed by fleets from North Africa and Egypt, now faltered under blockades and mismanagement. Senate edicts tried to cap prices and punish hoarding, but these measures only deepened shortages. In the streets, ordinary citizens lined up for hours, clutching fistfuls of debased coins, hoping to buy enough grain to last the week. A nameless Roman wrote simply, "The money is not money, the bread is not bread, tomorrow is uncertain." As confidence in the currency collapsed, so did the machinery of government. Tax collectors, unable to extract value from a failing coin, abandoned their posts. Provincial governors bribed mercenaries with promises of land, not payment. The army, once the backbone of imperial power, fragmented as Germanic mercenaries demanded their due. In late August of 476, Odoacer, a commander of these foreign troops, marched on Ravenna. The city offered no real resistance. Orestes, the emperor's father and chief general, was executed after a brief standoff. Romulus Augustulus, the last Western emperor, a boy in his early teens, was captured and quietly deposed. The imperial regalia, symbols of Roman authority, were packed and sent east to Constantinople. Chroniclers noted that Roman rule in Italy ended in a single night. No armies rallied to restore the emperor. The Senate quickly recognized Odoacer's authority. The bureaucracy, already hollowed out, simply ceased to function. For centuries, Rome's power had rested on the faith that its money, its bread, and its rule would endure. In the end, all three failed together, and the world's mightiest empire vanished with barely a fight. In the spring of 1989, a quiet order from the Soviet Politburo set the unraveling in motion. Facing a ballooning deficit and the cost of a grinding war in Afghanistan, Moscow's treasury began printing rubles at a pace unseen in decades. Valentin Pavlov, then a rising official in the Ministry of Finance, recorded in his diary, "We issue rubles, but there is no gold, no hard currency. It is paper." Within months, the effects seeped into daily life. Supermarket shelves in Moscow, once stocked with canned fish, sausage, and bread, grew bare. People lined up before dawn, clutching ration cards, only to find empty bins and handwritten signs reading "No meat today." Official prices remained fixed, but in the shadows, a black market flourished. A loaf of bread could cost 5 times its official price, if it could be found at all. Housewives traded gold rings and American jeans for basics. The ruble, still pegged by the state, lost all meaning outside official channels. In 1990, a single United States dollar fetched more than 10 rubles on the street, double the rate of the year before. The government announced wage and price freezes, hoping to calm the panic. Instead, word leaked through the grapevine and people rushed to buy anything with real value: soap, sugar, even nails. Hoarding emptied warehouses in days. A Treasury memo from late 1990 warned, "The people do not trust the ruble, they do not trust the state." By November 1989, the Berlin Wall fell. The world watched as East Germans streamed into West Berlin, but inside the Soviet Union, the collapse was more intimate. Republics like Lithuania and Ukraine began quietly hoarding hard currency, preparing for a future without Moscow. The central bank, flooded with worthless rubles, could no longer pay foreign bills. Factories bartered for raw materials. Wages went unpaid for months. In the summer of 1991, the Kremlin's authority crumbled as local leaders seized control of banks and police forces. On December 8, 1991, the presidents of Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus signed the Belavesia Accords, dissolving the Soviet Union. Gorbachev resigned before the month's end. The red flag came down over the Kremlin. replaced by the Russian tricolor. In just 900 days, the world's second superpower had gone from global rival to memory. The common thread was not just political miscalculation, but the moment when money itself lost meaning, when confidence in the ruble vanished, and with it, the state that once seemed unbreakable. Empires do not collapse at random. Across centuries and continents, their unraveling follows a familiar sequence, one that can be charted like cracks spreading across the face of a dam. Historians and risk analysts, from Peter Turchin to Ray Dalio, have mapped this pattern into 6 distinct stages. Each stage unfolds with its own warning signs, and together they create a checklist that has echoed from Rome to the Soviet Union and now into the present. The first stage is rising power. Here, an empire surges upward. Its economy expands, its armies grow, and its people share a sense of purpose. This is the age of building, of innovation, and of unity. Next comes peak expansion. The borders stretch to their furthest reach, wealth pours in, and confidence seems unbreakable. But beneath the surface, pressure is mounting. Stage 3 is currency debasement. The state, hungry for resources, begins to dilute its money, whether by reducing silver content in coins or by printing paper with no backing. Trust in the currency starts to erode. Stage 4 brings internal division. Factions multiply, corruption festers, and the bonds that once held the empire together begin to fray. Political battles replace shared vision. Stage 5 is economic failure. Trade routes break down, debts pile up, and ordinary people face shortages and uncertainty. The system can no longer deliver on its promises. Finally, Stage 6 arrives. Sudden collapse. Institutions that seemed eternal vanish almost overnight. The dam bursts, not from a single blow, but from the cumulative weight of every crack that came before. This 6-stage model is not just a theory. It is a diagnostic tool. It allows us to track the progress of decline, to see where the pressure is building, and to recognize the signals before the final rupture. America's debt clock ticks relentlessly, each digit a measure of promises made in borrowed time. The national debt now stands above $35 trillion, a sum that grows by billions every day. This burden is not hidden in accounting ledgers. It is visible in every budget standoff, every government shutdown threat, every debate over what the nation can afford. Treasury data confirms the debt to gross domestic product ratio has broken historic records, pushing past 120% and climbing. The United States spends more on interest payments than on its entire military, a pattern familiar from the final years of other superpowers. The dollar's strength, once unquestioned, has begun to erode. For decades, central banks around the world held United States dollars as the backbone of global reserves. But the latest International Monetary Fund tables show the dollar's share slipping below 58%, the lowest since the euro's debut. Major economies, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, are quietly reducing their United States Treasury holdings, shifting to gold or alternative currencies. Oil and trade deals once settled exclusively in dollars now increasingly bypass it, echoing the early signs of reserve flight that haunted the late Soviet Union. Inside the country, political division runs deeper than at any point in living memory. Gallup surveys reveal trust in Congress, the presidency, and even the Supreme Court has fallen to record lows. Headlines warn of states threatening to ignore federal law and polarization that splits families and communities. The checklist for collapse, drawn from Rome and the Soviet Union, is nearly complete. Runaway debt, currency debasement, reserve erosion, and institutional distrust. Yet the final trigger is brutally simple. The moment foreign buyers stop lending, when faith in America's solvency dies, the collapse is instant. 4 warning signals now flash: unsustainable debt, shrinking reserve status, rising risk premiums, collapsing trust. All are measurable, all are present. The pattern is not just historical, it is unfolding now in real time. Today, over $7 trillion in United States debt is held by foreign governments. If that confidence breaks, history shows collapse is not gradual, it is immediate. Every empire believes it is the exception, right up to the final moment. The next chapter is written not by power, but by trust.